completely different entrepreneur, and I believe that it's partly because I've been in therapy. Actually, mostly because of therapy. I used to focus so much on growing my business, so much on making sure that people knew about the business, that I was not focused on being a better human being. And honestly, I'm a better person now because of therapy. So today we're talking to a therapist and a few entrepreneurs. So today we're talking to a therapist, I'm so excited about that, and some entrepreneurs who have been to therapy, so we can get both sides of what it looks like to actually go and invest in therapy.
I remember like it was yesterday. In the early stages of Majority Women, the team and I had an opportunity to film 30 CEOs for a big project with the Chamber. It was such a great opportunity. It was huge. We were interviewing major CEOs from Delta, CEOs from Cox, CEOs from SunTrust. It was a big deal, but I was still unhappy. I was crying on the ground, and I was like, I need something to be different. Not to mention I was still in the very middle, deep part of my eating disorder. And I knew that something needed to change. So I found a therapist using openpathcollective.org. And from there, I've been in therapy, and that was October 2017. And it literally changed my life, which is why this episode is so important to me, because I do not know where I would be without therapy. Today, I'm interviewing Dr. Ayanna Abrams and a few amazing entrepreneurs who have decided to share their therapy story with us today. First up, Dr. Abrams. She's a licensed clinical psychologist in Georgia and CEO-founder of Ascension Behavioral Health, a solo private practice. She obtained her master's and doctoral degrees in clinical psychology at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, with an emphasis on multicultural needs and experiences. She enjoys her work, and we're going a little bit in depth on therapy. All right, so what is your title?
So I am a licensed clinical psychologist, which means that I hold a license in the state of Georgia.
And what does that mean? Like, as a psychologist, what's your role?
So that means that I'm licensed to treat people. I'm licensed to be in private practice and see people on my own with no supervision. So that's the whole process. There are different stages of licensure. So you can be licensed at the master's level, or you can be licensed at the doctorate level. And I'm licensed at the doctorate level.
Why did you become a therapist?
Easy answer that many people say is that I wanted to help people. I wanted to see people do better after I left them, in whichever way. But specifically, I wanted to be a therapist who serves the Black community. My upbringing, my parents are immigrants, so I recognize the experience of feeling really different when I was younger and feeling isolated in ways and kind of needing things that my family couldn't provide to me emotionally. So as I got older and then learned more about psychology, I was like, well, that's the way in. And if I could help one person not feel the way that I felt, just by creating a space for them, that's what I wanted to do.
When people come to you, like for the most part, what are they coming to you for? What do they say?
So I should probably preface that. So I work with individuals and I work with couples. Okay. So individuals say different things than couples.
Let's talk about individuals.
Okay. So when individuals come in, they oftentimes say that they are not happy in their lives, they're not happy in their relationships, or they're not happy at work. I'll have more people come in and actually say, well, I'm having some kind of stress or strain in some area and I need something to get better. Or they come in and say, I'm in crisis and something needs to change immediately. And then once we do the screening, I get a little bit more information about what's going on with them, if they've been in therapy before, the level of crisis they're in, the severity of crisis, and then we move forward towards scheduling an appointment if I think it's a good fit.
What do people come to you the most for, though? Like, what do you think that we all? Oh, go ahead.
No, depression and anxiety as the kind of umbrella terms for what people are dealing with, and what we see more now is coming through the doors. But under depression and anxiety, that could be related to school, that could be related to unhealthy relationship, that could be related to trauma, career issues, eating concerns, right? Because while those are the big headers, there could be a number of things under that, but they typically fall in some category of depression, anxiety, or transition to something.
Do you mind naming the number of things? Like, I want people to really find a way to maybe connect to why they could need therapy or why they could use therapy. Or what would I, so if I actually have no idea and I don't think I need therapy at all, it just feels like a very foo-foo term, like, girl, I'm not going to therapy. Like, why do you think people need it?
I think people need therapy, one, because we're not taught the skills to be our best selves in the world. I think just in terms of moving through kind of day to day and our families, we don't really have the language in a lot of ways. So what therapy can provide a space for is really getting used to your own voice. And I don't think that enough people, particularly women, are really taught to value their own voice. So the one thing that therapy provides is this space to say whatever it is just coming from you. I think at a very young age, we are taught someone else's voice. We're taught to be some way for some other person or for some other entity in some way, and we lose who we are. And that can start at age 3, 4, 5, right? Once you start getting around people, what therapy allows you the chance to do is really get clear on who you are. And once you're clear on who you are, everything else can really fall into place. But that's not something that we're naturally provided, I think, in this world. There's just a lot of voices in our head telling us that we should be a certain way, that we shouldn't do a certain thing, and it gets really confusing for most people. So if anything, at the least, it provides that space, and 2, it provides a relationship that's very different than any other relationship you'll ever have.
Talk about that.
So what's really cool about the therapeutic relationship is, one, you get to be yourself in the room and not have to worry about judgment, bias, me thinking or me being mad at you for doing something a certain way. It really allows you to honor whoever you are in your own voice, on your own terms, whatever that is. But what's really cool about the relationship is that the space that we provide for you, you get a chance to really kind of try out and kind of take different risks in the therapy room. So you'll say things to me that you wouldn't say to anybody else. Right, that's one thing I hear from the majority of my clients, like, I would never say this out loud. I would never write this down. I would never let anybody know that I was thinking this thing. And they get to experience this freedom once I say it out loud. And then they get to see, I didn't jump out the room. I didn't leave. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not telling them, how dare you say that. I'm just like, okay, tell me more about that. Where do you think that came from? And then you get to get curious about it, right? Because if you say these things outside, people stop you because it's based on what they want from you.
It's always a judgment.
Exactly.
And I've learned that if something comes up for me, then it's coming up so it can come out, so it can be healed. And I learned that from my mama Ayanna Van Zandt. But that's the thing I love most about therapy, is that I get to come and like talk about whatever I need to talk about, get it all off my chest, and really just like you say, be myself. And I actually think that I've become more of myself because of therapy.
It allows you to kind of connect so many dots that you might not have connected before.
Oh my goodness, yes. What do we, out of all your clients, right? Like, what do you find that we most have that all of us like have in common?
What do you most? That's a really good question. People want to be seen. People want to be valued. People want their voice to be heard in some way. And it doesn't even matter necessarily who it's being heard from. They want to be able to say things out loud and be who they are and be responded to in a really healthy, empathic way. And I think that is universal. Love, right? People want to be loved. We are social beings. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a different diagnosis. I don't know anybody who does not want to be connected to other people in some way. What I see is people who don't know how to be connected in some way, or people who have been really harmed in connecting to people, so they don't know how to get what they really need. But that's typically what people are looking for. They're looking for some way to be in a space and feel like themselves, but also feel kind of connected to other people.
And so if we're going to sell therapy, like in one sentence, like what would you say?
Oh goodness, therapy in one
we gotta like, be able to easily sell it to the people.
Easily sell it to I'm a salesperson.
Because I'm out here convincing people, like, go at least 3 times. I hope you find a therapist.
Go at least 3 times. Do your therapist shopping. Like, give yourself
it's like dating.
A chance.
Finding a therapist is like
it's
dating.
A relationship.
It's a true
Therapy
relationship,
is a relationship, and people get that very confused. They think that therapists are only there to tell you what to do, to give you advice, to tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong. It's like this. Those are judgments.
And I'll have clients who will come in and say, well, why aren't you telling me what to do? And I said, that's not my role. Gosh, and then they leave. Sometimes they do leave mad, like, well, you didn't tell me what I was supposed to do the other day. I was like, no, I'm helping to get you to a place where you can make those decisions for yourself. My goal is actually for you not to be here forever. Come as much as you want, come as often as you need, but my goal is to get you enough therapy so you can do all this work on your own and figure it out for yourself and kind of integrate these things.
Let's sell it. Let's sell it to them.
Oh, I'm not good on the spot with one-liners.
Maybe 2 lines. We'll work it out.
2 lines. What was the question?
Okay, we're to sell therapy to people. We're selling it.
We're selling it.
Let me maybe give you something to start with.
Something.
Therapy could be an option for you if?
Therapy is the opportunity for you to be your best self. Therapy is in my eyes, the only way for you to be your truest self.
Without judgment.
Without
bias.
You cannot do this on your own, and you don't have to.
And you don't have to.
You don't have to.
I know this, and I'm gonna wrap it up. A lot of us are used to doing things on our own, so it's not like we're used to being able to ask for help. Ask for help from our family, let alone from anyone. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We go further together.
Facts. Amen.
Brown and Black girls, to me, experience depression in a different way, in a unique way to me, because culturally we're defined as being strong and resilient. And so when we're faced with a situation where we just can't drag ourselves out of this mood, or we just can't make ourselves snap and be better, we feel guilty about it. We feel like something's wrong with us, like we should have been able to do that and we didn't. And there's also not a lot of structure in place for us to talk about it.
Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health disorder in the United States. Data shows that for Black women, anxiety is more chronic and the symptoms are more intense than their white counterparts. From social anxiety, depression, and PTSD from racism, sexual trauma, abuse, whatever it may be, we are suffering, and some of us may not even know we're suffering. The very characteristics I used to attribute to who I was were actually a manifestation of the internal and unconscious suffering I endured for 20 years. Therapy changed that for me and for these 4 entrepreneurs.
All right, I'm so happy to talk to you all. All right, so I want to give everybody a little introduction of you all, your name and who you are.
All right, so I'm Aliya, and I am a marketer, I'm a strategist, I'm an entrepreneur, and just an all-around connector.
I'm Simone, and I am one of the co-founders of a brand management and strategy consulting agency here in Atlanta. And I also have my own apparel and accessories brand that celebrates Black girl magic and Black excellence.
And what's it called?
It's called Shop Simone Cheri.
Yes.
So,
Nice.
I'm Chi Christine. I am an account executive at this really awesome marketing and promotions company. I'm also kind of a brand and personality. I like to host and moderate things and kind of carry on conversations with people.
Well, I'm Carmen. I am a content creator. I'm a blogger. I'm an author. I'm a writer. And I recently just started a show called The Highlights. So I'm working on that now.
So happy to have you all. So we're talking about therapy and how important that's been to us, especially as entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs and creatives. What was like life before you went to therapy? Like, talk about that a little bit.
So for me, I'll say life before therapy lacked a lot of boundaries in terms of not only my personal but professional relationships. And it was a bit chaotic, you know, in terms of just managing the day-to-day, all the things that you have going on, working for yourself, and, you know, when you're kind of that hybrid role of working in corporate and starting your business, it was just chaotic. So going to therapy for me gave me practical skills to be able to, you know, manage all of the moving parts that is this, you know, this technology life we live in. So that was awesome.
It felt very burdensome for me. Like I felt like every time I was doing something very well or I was succeeding at something and excelling, I felt like I had to kind of just absorb a lot. I felt like I was holding a lot in very consistently. So I've always been really good at everything that I tried to do. And so I felt like before I started going to therapy, I'd have to hide how excited I was that I was doing something well. Or if I felt like I was making someone feel less than with my success, I would hold all that in, or I would try to kind of overextend myself sometimes to make other people, to accommodate other people's feelings in the light of my success and my achievements. So before therapy, it was just normal for me to hold everything in, my excitement, the good stuff and the bad stuff.
Well, for me, it was a lot of not self-reflecting, just kind of going day to day and kind of doing the same thing, doing the same routine, and being really, like you said, burdened and kind of feeling like I'm weighed down with the things that I'm having to do, and anxiety ridden, a little bit of depression. And so before therapy, I was having to deal with those things on my own. And when I went to therapy, I actually had a chance to kind of work through those things with someone else.
Do you have an example, Aliya, of like
something specific that you remember about life before therapy?
Absolutely. I think doing the self-work in therapy gave me the courage to pursue a lot of things that I had been wanting to pursue for a long time. So like, I recently started doing an event called In Community, and I had the idea in 2015 when I first moved back, but I had a lot of negative self-talk about what I could and couldn't do, and so I put it off. And going to therapy and kind of working through those things and really kind of starting to believe in myself and starting to break those habits, I started doing it last year. I had my first In Community last year, and it was like, oh wow, I can do this, like breaking those cycles.
So for me, before therapy, like I don't think I value relationships as much with anybody, not just like my romantic relationships, but I don't think that, like I think I value my best friends because they're my best friends, but everybody else just kind of felt like, you know, I didn't know because I moved around a lot, so everybody was like here and then there. Do you all remember like the moment? Like talk about the moment in detail as much detail as you can, where you were like, yo, I gotta go to therapy.
I can definitely talk about it. Last year, my sister lost her baby. The day he was supposed to be born, he was stillborn. And I've been talking about going to therapy for a very long time. It was just something I knew I needed to do. I've always been really in tune with my own emotions and how they made other people feel and how other people made me feel. But that kind of moment for our family, everyone was turning to me to kind of get stability and to find their ground level. And I didn't have anyone to turn to other than my now fiance. And I knew that that was too much for him. I knew that it was too much for me to absorb everyone else's feelings and then just to unload them on him. And we were recently engaged, so we're trying to build toward a stronger marriage. And I'm like, I don't have the tools to work through these really complex emotions anymore. I have to go somewhere and I have to do this now.
The moment for me was when I realized I was talking to people in my family and talking to friends, and I just was not getting, I felt like I wasn't having that breakthrough, because when you're talking to people in your family and people that you know, they're gonna give you advice that kind of caters to whatever you want to hear, and it's biased. It's
from their perspective.
For their perspective. I wanted an unbiased opinion. I had a new job, I had a new relationship, I was working on new things. I felt really burdened, and I was like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody who doesn't know me, who has no stake in this, who's gonna tell me the truth. Mm-hmm. And you know, it was just one moment where I woke up that day and I was like, girl, I can't do it anymore. Like, I have to go to therapy. And that was that moment.
You get a lot of people say, if I were you, I would.
Yeah. It's like, you're not.
Right.
So you can't. Right. Did you find your family, like, were they just validating what you were going through, or?
Some people were, but you know, some people were just giving me one-word answers. Some people were giving me very surface answers, and I needed something in depth. Like it wasn't helpful to me. I mean, I would get off the phone feeling like I hadn't really gotten any real good information or good feedback. And I wanted somebody who was, who had experience, somebody who could give me a different perspective.
Right. Okay. And what about you? Remember the moment?
Yes, literally remember the moment. My dad and I have a little bit of a rockier relationship, and at the end of 2017, it was literally like maybe December 28th or something, we had a huge fight, and I just felt so overwhelmed, and I didn't know who to talk to. I couldn't talk to my mom about it because she has her own feelings and opinions about the situation. I was like, yo, I am going to therapy. And I swear, but I had an appointment, and I had my first appointment with her January 2nd, I think. Like, that's how quick the turnaround was.
So you had your moments before therapy, so now you've been in therapy. Talk about how you feel after. And are you still in therapy?
Yes.
Okay, everybody still in therapy?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Me too. All right, so talk about like how you feel now after going, for however long.
So I've been going for, it'll be 2 years in March.
Okay.
Love my therapist. She's amazing. And basically I just feel awesome. I feel like I'm watching myself grow up. I'm watching myself evolve through understanding how my brain works, especially understanding fear and how that's triggered in us and how we have the ability to overcome that and understand why fear exists. and understand how we navigate in that. So that has probably been one of the most revolutionary things that I've experienced in going to therapy. And then also just managing relationships in business, navigating those things, understanding when it's okay for you to do certain things and when it's not okay for you to accept certain behaviors from other people. Because, you know, as you're figuring it out in entrepreneurship, that's hard. You know, you don't know where those boundaries are sometimes. And so that has been super helpful for me.
Definitely just learning more about myself, obviously. One of the things that my therapist asked me was, why do you not like to be wrong? That was one of the things I told her, and I said, I hate being wrong. And she's like, well, what does that mean for you? What happens when you're wrong? And I say, well, and that was my homework. So I went home and I wrote it down in my journal, and I was like, what does happen when I'm wrong? And what I found out was that I felt vulnerable. I felt weak when I was wrong. And so in my relationships, now I'm starting to learn to listen more to people. And if we're having a conversation and it turns out that maybe I'm not right in that conversation, it's okay. Yeah. I can relinquish and I can fall back and say, you know what, you're right. Yeah. Actually, I should have probably done this. Right. So that's just some of the progress that I've noticed in my life.
I've had so many moments where I'm just like, this is working, this is something I need to be doing more, and I mean consistently. The most like direct moment for me was when I was talking to my mom, and she was asking me about just kind of how I felt, and I just didn't feel like sharing. In the therapy room, we talked about how I am content and I'm happy with my life, and stuff doesn't have to be wrong. There doesn't have to be something wrong. And in my family growing up, was what's going on, what's wrong. That was the main part of our conversations. And I was able to tell her, like, no, there's nothing wrong. Everything is fine. I just don't feel like talking right now.
And that's okay.
And I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was hurting my mom and I was breaking her down. I was comfortable telling my mom, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like for me, I felt a lot of rejection when I was younger. And so I saw how that played out as an adult. And so with friends or like relationships, I would find myself trying to like fill this hole up, right, with their love and their attention. And now I'm finding that, you know, after I've gone to therapy, I'm like, I know that I need to fill that hole up myself. I need to like take care of myself, and I'm not looking for anyone else to fill any voids that I had. But I didn't know that that's what I was trying to do for people, or when they didn't answer the phone, or not even that, but just when I felt rejected, I really felt like I started to question myself and doubt myself. That was a big thing for me.
Absolutely. I don't shrink as much anymore. I think for a long time, I would like, if I was in a situation that felt like somebody had something that I didn't, or somebody had something to offer that I didn't have to offer, I would fall back. And I would just be like, well, I gotta let them shine, and I don't have anything to bring to the table, a lot of comparison. And I think in therapy, I've been like letting go of that and just like showing up fully. And that has helped me feel like I'm more myself, or getting back to myself, which I think has been the greatest part.
How does having gone to therapy even change the way you interact with social media?
I don't feel like I'm as reactive. I don't think I digest the things that people post in the same way. I don't feel like I'm scrolling through and I'm not getting that instant depression. I'm not feeling less than when I scroll anymore. I know that the life I have is the life I've built, and I'm content. So I don't feel like I'm in constant competition with what I see.
I feel like I can give myself more credit for doing my best.
Yeah.
And if I haven't done my best, like I can know that and understand that, versus determining how well I've done based on what somebody else thinks of me, based on how many likes I get or how many views I had.
Right.
If I know that I've done the best, I feel like, okay, I'm good, I'm more confident.
My answer is a little different. I don't think I've ever used social media as a barometer of how good of a person I am or how successful I am. I don't count my likes. I don't count who's viewing my posts. But what I did notice is that when I admitted, or I don't even say admitted, when I shared that I was going to therapy, people that I looked up to and people that I know would DM me and say, tell me about your therapy. I want to go. Or what did you learn in therapy? I've been wanting to go. And it made me realize that people are going through stuff. People who you think are not going through things,
all going through things,
are going through stuff. Yes. And so I didn't feel alone. And I found that when you share your story, you'll find that you are not alone.
Yes, I feel like more connected when I share my truth with others.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I share about my therapy experience on social media now all the time. And I've had friends, college, people that I went to college with reach out like, I want to go, like I'm scared, but you talking about it has taken some of that shame of it away.
Yes, the shame. There's so much shame attached to it, and I understand it. Now I also now see the value. I'm like, I'm like a overall more. I'm more proud of myself as a human being. Yeah. And I think that that's something I can understand too. Like, what does it mean to be human, right? Like, humans cry, humans like rest, humans feel judged at times, but then they overcome it. Like, I really don't think that I knew what it meant to be human, honestly, before I went to therapy. So if somebody's like, yo, why should I go? I need y'all to tell them why. Each of y'all, tell them why. Why they should go to therapy.
I think that everybody should go to therapy because I think it helps you just get more in touch with yourself. And I think when you kind of know yourself and love yourself, like that's where all the good stuff is. Yes. That's where everything starts, if you have that foundation. So I think therapy is great for helping you get to that place.
I think therapy is awesome for getting out of your own way. Like, sometimes we don't even understand the thoughts that we're having are negative thoughts because it's just what we've always done. We don't understand that the people in our life are giving us terrible feedback.
Right. We don't know what it's like to feel better. Right?
Yeah.
Because we're so used to feeling
Exactly. We're used to feeling skeptical. We're used to, all of that. And so
pessimistic.
Yeah, limiting thoughts and beliefs. And so, going to therapy is definitely that place where you can have the highest vision and really go after it through your thoughts and then through your actions. So, yeah.
I think the most important thing to understand about therapy is that it's a place for you to truly understand yourself on even a molecular level, and to know that who you are, what you think, how you feel, how you respond to things is how you want to actually respond, and not a result of past trauma or a result of societal influence or a kind of a systematic. As Black people, we've grown up in a system of oppression, and we don't even understand how much that has impacted us until you get into the therapy room and you're able to really break things down for what they are.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'm gonna speak to that as well. I'm gonna say, specifically speaking as a Black woman, and for people of color in general, I think therapy is a much needed thing, given the experiences that we have in this country, given the trauma that we've experienced, our parents have experienced, our grandparents have experienced. We don't realize how those things impact us until we go to therapy. It's reflected in what we eat, what we wear, how we talk, who we engage with, and we really need to break those things down. And so therapy is a place to start.
Now I realized that how I was showing up at work was like a manifestation of not going to therapy. So now I feel like I can focus on being a better, like whatever I want to be, right? And I think it also too starts with understanding that Diamond as a woman has to be where she wants to be before Diamond can be somebody's girlfriend, Diamond can be somebody's producer, Diamond can be somebody's host, right? Like I realize that myself as a woman, I gotta get that together, and that's what I've been investing more in now nowadays. So, thank y'all.
Thank you.
For me, therapy is like this. It's like I have these goals for myself that I want. I have a really big vision for my life. But I know for sure that without therapy, I would not be able to get there because there were so many limiting thoughts I had. There were so many things that I was blaming on my past, and I wasn't taking true 100% responsibility for my part in all of this. And therapy helped me do that. Therapy helped me understand why I am the way I am, and it helped me understand too how I can become who I want to be. So how are you feeling about therapy now? You gonna go? Well, look, if you're gonna go to openpathcollective.org and you can find a therapist there. You can also find a therapist on Black Girls Therapy. I think that's the site, but you'll see it right here. Go there and get your therapist. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I feel like I'm pretty good at helping people find therapists. For more interviews like this one, log on to bit.ly/watchtwio. Let me know what you think. Pass it on to your friends. Spread the word of The World Is Ours.